Alright, hello again, it's Shura. I hope you all are enjoying hearing my lovely voice rather than some text-to-speech like I normally do. Today we're going to talk about the name of the project and the logo. So I've been working on this project since my last video, AU to Original, and the document I have everything on in Procreate has basically multiple drawings, and the process tends to overlap in the playback. So I grabbed some screenshots and I'll just explain the process and show you where I ended up. If you're familiar with logos of any kind, it's important to have something recognizable. The AU's logo works because it remixes the original Powerpuff Girls logo. My goal when making this original project's logo and name was to have something just as iconic and legally distinct. I don't mind that this project's basically a ripoff. If you're familiar with any kind of cartoon history, ripoffs are a time-honored tradition. Scooby-Doo vs. Speed Buggy, Josie and the Pussycats, and a million other IPs that uses that formula. There's literally an episode on Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated that makes fun of this. But the key distinction with ripoffs is that there must be something new brought to the table. So when I sat down to name the project and design the logo, I started out with one thing in mind. The name of the group that Aria, Cadence, and Harmony are a part of, Magical Melody. That's something I made up. That's mine. And I can keep it. Magical Melody was never part of the original PPG universe, obviously, but it doesn't hurt to state plainly. So Magical Melody in itself could be the name of this project. But there was something off. I didn't want this to seem like some magical girl show, which is what Magical Melody would make you think it is. Also, oddly enough, there's a Harvest Moon game with the same name, and it's actually caused confusion in some of my previous AU videos. So I had to go back to the drawing board tablet in that regard. So I thought about the lore, where the girls get their powers through a not-so-top secret project. So I ended up with the name Project Melody. Short, sweet, to the point, an ideal name for a show. When designing logos, it's a good idea to think about the things you want to communicate in your logo, especially if it's for a comic, show, or whatever. Examples of this could be One Piece, which has an anchor in the logo, Dragon Ball, which has one of the Dragon Balls in its logo, My Hero Academia, shaped like a school, Sailor Moon has a moon in the logo, and so on. So what I want to communicate is that music is very important in this logo. So my first instinct was to do sheet music. And I put a little tab thingy up at the top that you usually see on files. That was supposed to communicate the government or officialness of the project while showing that music was somehow involved in the melody half. As you can see, this is not a very good logo, so I threw it out. But I did keep some aspects that I liked from the first draft. I liked the treble clef element in the music. When approaching the second round of this, I got a little tired of hand drawing, so I went to Canva to help me out. This is what I came up with there at first. I wanted to somehow overlap the treble clef with the P, and the circles were kind of supposed to frame the words. The sizing was supposed to represent how oppressive the project was, which was why the font was so sharp in the project, on the project part, and the melody half of the logo was supposed to be softer and sort of represent the girls. In this version, I only had one musical note. It felt incomplete, so I went back to Canva and played around a bit more. I liked the idea of having musical notes that represented each of the characters, so I added an 8th and a 16th note next to the beamed 16th note. Yes, I did have to look up those names. I played around a bit more with the colors. I started to like the idea of having different circles represent each character as well. The idea being sort of like sound waves, but I still wasn't quite happy with how it looked. So I kept playing around with the concept a bit more, and I ended up having 4 circles in the background. Orange to represent Aria, pink to represent Cadence, purple to represent Maxima, and green to represent Harmony. I made the text red and orange to pop a bit more against the more pastel background, and outlined it with yellow to separate it further. The treble clef was made to be blue to complement the orange. Harmony being represented by the 16th note, Aria being represented by the beamed 16th note, and Cadence being represented by the 8th note. The thickness of the lines was actually on purpose. If I remember correctly, it was to communicate how strong they are. Aria being established as a living weapon in previous lore for the fan project naturally got a pretty thick circle. Harmony was second place for her stamina. Cadence circle was wonky because of how unstable she is, and Maxima's is nearly perfect, reflecting her experience and stability. Now, I'm no graphic designer, but I am pretty proud of this, and even though it's been about a year since I made it, if I continue with this being an original project, I do plan on keeping this logo. So tell me what you guys think. Do you like the logo? Do you like the new name? Let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video.